Special.
Well, I was in Pizza Express in Godalming only a couple of weeks ago.
Rachel reads Spring Budget.
The signal was absolutely shocking.
House of Parliament.
On my way to Busbridge Town Hall, Village Hall. I'm not
Debate,
sure whether the
UK
MPs
25.
the Telecoms Minister.
On which case, we'll move on to Prime Minister's questions. John Slinger.
Question number one, please, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's spring statement will showcase a government going further and faster on the economy. Green-lighting the Lower Thames crossing, investing £2 million for 18,000 affordable homes for working families, 60,000 young people being trained, the next generation of construction workers, and fixing millions of potholes. We're undoing a decade of stagnation, giving jobs and opportunities for working people and securing Britain's future. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow I'll meet President Macron in Paris to discuss further our efforts to secure a lasting peace in Ukraine. And may I welcome the delegation from Bring Back Kids initiative to the gallery. The abduction of Ukrainian children is grotesque. And the UK will play our full part to bring them home. It's a stark reminder that any peace settlement must see Russia held accountable for their deplorable actions. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
John Slinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under this Labour government, NHS waiting lists are down 5 months in a row. And the Hospital of St Cross in my constituency of Rugby is playing its part. But many of my constituents remain concerned about the long waits in A&E that they're experiencing that we inherited from the Conservatives, especially those who have to travel to the General Hospital in Coventry. So will the Prime Minister set out how our plan for change to bring the NHS
time at the moment is approximately midday. It's the 26th of March. See on the left side there.
Line, deliver better emergency care, closer to the community.
Wednesday today it is.
Mr. Speaker, our plan for change already cut NHS waiting list by almost 200,000. That's 5 months in a row during the winter months. The local trust waiting list in this area are down 93%, and he's doing a great job for his community. We've already delivered 2 million extra appointments that we promised because of the record investment in the budget. The party opposite can't have it both ways. If they welcome NHS investment, they can't criticise raising the money to pay for it.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Beno.
Mr. Speaker, in 30 minutes, we will hear the Chancellor's emergency budget. Even the Home Secretary's husband calls it an emergency budget. As she scrambles to fix the mess she made last
Well, that's the Prime Minister's questions then.
But first, let's turn to another government minister who is making a mess of her brief, the Education Secretary. Why did Labour MPs vote against banning phones in schools last week?
Prime Minister.
Because it's completely unnecessary. I've got teenage children. Almost every school bans phones in school. They do it already. We need to concentrate on what's really important here, which is getting to the content that children shouldn't be accessing. That's where I would genuinely like to work across the House, because I think there's a huge amount of work to do. But the battle is not with schools already banning phones in school. The battle, and this is an important emerging battle, is to work together to ensure that we can ensure that the content that children are accessing, wherever they are, is suitable for their age.
Mr. Speaker, we can look at the content, but if the ban is unnecessary, then why is it that they've started a review? Just last week, his Education Secretary called a ban a big gimmick, yet teachers and head teachers say the evidence already shows that schools that ban phones get better results. And he's wrong. Not all schools do this. Only 1 in 10 schools are smartphone free. So will he U-turn on this?
We need to ensure that all schools do this, but the vast majority do. It is really important that we focus on the battle we have to have with mobile phones, which is the content that children are able to access. And we need to ensure that that is controlled wherever they are. So it's a question of having the right battle on the right issue, not wasting time on something where almost all schools are already banning mobile phones.
Jesus Christ, Michelle, son Jim.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that the Prime Minister would say this. His own government evidence says that phones disrupt nearly half of GCSE classes every single day. Discipline is the #1 issue in many schools. Under the Conservatives, schools became twice as likely to be good or outstanding after going through our behaviour programme. So why did the Education Secretary abolish that programme?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she talks about the record of the last government. Under their watch, a third of children started school without appropriate level development, and that is not being able to use a knife and fork. A quarter left primary school without the required standard of reading, writing and maths, and 1 in 5 was regularly absent. That's why we're pushing up standards, more information from Ofsted, transparency for parents, more interventions where schools need it.
Wow.
Mr. Speaker, he's not answering the question about discipline in schools because he doesn't care about discipline in schools. Everything he does is ideological and his decisions are costing schools so much. The national insurance hike means every state school in the country has to pay more for teachers. The Education Secretary promised to compensate schools in full for the jobs tax. Why hasn't it happened?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, it was Labour that introduced academies. We've pushed up standards. And this is not ideological. I'm a parent of 2 teenage children, both of whom go to a state school. So I'm vested in this, and it matters hugely to me. Nothing ideological about it. That is why we're driving up standards, as we always have done.
Mr. Speaker, he didn't answer the question about compensating schools for the jobs tax. That is costing schools a lot of money. The CEO of the United Learning Group says the grant that they gave is 20% short. Some schools will face shortfalls of up to 35%. Can he guarantee that no teacher will lose their job as a result of his jobs tax?
Mr. Speaker, this government at the budget put a record amount into our schools, just as we put a record amount into our NHS and into our public services. We were utterly failed under the last...
Front on the right side screen, please.
Yet again, she wants all the benefits, the NHS, but she can't say how she's going to pay for it. That's what got us into the mess in the first place.
Here, here. He's right there.
Mr. Speaker, the whole House will have heard that he could not guarantee that teachers' jobs are safe. Not only is he taxing schools, he's also lowering standards. He talks about our record. I'll tell him what our record was. Under the Conservatives, English schools shot up the international league tables, while schools in Labour-run Wales, standards fell. Academy freedoms led to the biggest improvement of standards in a generation, but the Education Secretary is attacking them with her reforms. Can the Prime Minister point to any evidence at all, that these discredited academy reforms will improve school standards?
Prime Minister.
Yes, take the example of schools going into academies. The vast majority of schools are already academies. Therefore, we need to think again about what we do about failing schools that are already academies. We need to go on to the next chapter. And they never take the big decisions, and that's why we ended up their record. Open borders, which she was a cheerleader for, a crashed economy, mortgages through the roof, the NHS on its knees, hollowed out armed forces, and what have we got already under this government? 2 million extra NHS appointments, 750 breakfast clubs, including one in her constituency.
Aye.
Record numbers of people being returned who shouldn't be here, a fully funded increase in defence spending. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
It's got you there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently visited Harlow College and saw the work they were doing training the bricklayers and electricians of the future. Would the Prime Minister agree with me that work that FE colleges like Harlow College do is vital for the house building that we need for future generations? And what will his government do to support Harlow's next generation?
This Squire Senator.
He's a great champion for his constituents. We are investing £600 million to train up to 60,000 more skilled house builders so we can support the next generation and deliver 1.5 million new homes. We're creating technical excellence.
You won't manage that in your term, mate. It'll be the next. It'll be 10 years' time. Or 9 years' time. That gets filled up. That's the fact, guys. That's the truth.
Liberal Democrats, Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The British drama Adolescence has shone a much-needed spotlight on the enormous damage being done by social media.
He can stand 3 times only, so
especially teenage
Ed
boys.
David can.
We've argued that social media giants should be much more toughly regulated and pay more tax so we can defend our young people from this harm. We've had disturbing reports that the government is considering scrapping the digital services tax and watering down Britain's online safety legislation to appease President Trump and his co-president Elon Musk. So will the Prime Minister today categorically rule out both of these things and make it clear that he will guarantee that British laws on tax and social media will be written in this House and not the White House?
Well, yes, of course, as he well knows. On the point he makes about online safety, it is important. There are new measures coming in the next few months, which are very important under the Act, and we need to see whether we can go further on this issue, because there are concerns as to whether they go far enough. But will the laws be made in this place? Of course they will.
Trent David.
I'm grateful for the Prime Minister's reply on the social media laws, but he didn't answer the point on the digital services tax, and we will come back to that. But moving on, Mr. Speaker, after President Trump's national security advisor accidentally added a journalist to a group chat that was discussing military action in Yemen, and given, I think, all the concerns that we share about President Trump's relationship with Vladimir Putin and J.D. Vance's insulting disdain for Britain and our armed forces, will the Prime Minister make it clear that he will order an urgent review into the security of the intelligence that we share with the United States?
Mr. Speaker, we work with the United States on a daily basis, and I think the honourable gentleman would like to think of himself as sort of reasonable, and when he's not jumping in Windermere, quite serious. But unpicking our relations with the US on defence and security is neither responsible nor serious.
So, Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Medina from Lyminge in my constituency is registered blind, and she recently told me how she had been failed by the broken social security system left behind by the Conservatives. She faced great difficulties in getting support from access to work, which is essential across my Ashford constituency, and was not helped to find paid employment. It is so important that disabled people who want to work are supported to do so. What is the Prime Minister's message to Medina and others like her who have been abandoned and shut out of employment for far too long?
Aye, good question.
Every person should have the right to work, and we will always protect the most severely disabled and those with lifelong health conditions. For Medina and the 200,000 others like her who can work and want to work, we need to support them. And that's why I'm investing £1 billion in personalised tailoring employment programmes and introducing the right to try work guarantee. The party opposite presided over a failed system that didn't help them and then blamed them. We will never do that.
Mr. Speaker, those who know me well know that I don't talk of this often, but for half of my adult life I was physically disabled. Indeed, when I first walked through the doors of this here chamber, I did so with a crutch in my right arm to support my body weight. I know how it feels. Right now in Scotland, some 55% of children living in poverty have a member of their household who is a disabled person. So can the Prime Minister explain to me, actually no, can the Prime Minister explain to those children how the Labour Party making mum and dad poorer will lift them out of poverty?
Yeah, good one.
I'm grateful to him for sharing his personal experience on this and his right to do so. My family's had living with disability for many years as well, so I do understand the human element of this. We do need to give support to those that need it. We do need to help those who want to work into work, and we need to be clear that those who can work should work. In England, we inherited a failed system that couldn't be defended, but it's also failing in Scotland. 84,000 young Scots, he focuses on young people, that's 15% of young Scots not in employment, education or training. That is terrible. Almost 300,000 Scots economically inactive due to temporary or long-term illness. Now what we're doing is taking the steps to help people into work, £1 billion of employment support. They have record funding under the government, under the budget. What are they going to do to help the young Scots who have been failed by their government?
Oh dear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Wrexham and Flintshire investment zone is one of the flagship examples of how when this government...
I sort of found that right side screen, Jesus Christ, on the side, yeah.